Okay, I'd like to call the District Board of Directors meeting to order. Can I get a roll call vote, please, Angie?
Betty Brewski-Malik.
Yes.
Kristen Kress. Here. Craig Gerlach.
Yes.
Richard Murden.
Present.
Linnea Miller.
Here.
Gordon Shallow.
Here.
Charles Spargo.
Here.
This August 16th, 2021 meeting of the Mid-State Technical College District Board of Directors and all other meetings of the board and or its committees is open to the public in compliance with the state statutes. Notice of this meeting has been sent to the news media and designated persons in an attempt to make the citizens of the Mid-State Technical College District aware of the place, time, and agenda of the meeting. Open forum. The open forum is at the option of the board chairperson, and the ground rules have been established to ensure the orderly conduct of business. This is a meeting of the district board open to the public and not a public hearing. Persons who wish to address the district board may make a statement as long as it pertains to the specific agenda item. Individuals should not expect to engage in discussion with the members of the district board. Do we have anybody here to address the board? Okay, I'm looking for approval on the July 12th, 2021 board meeting minutes as shown in Exhibit A. Can I get a motion in a second?
Also move.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Can I get an approval on the consent agenda items, including payroll, bills and payroll, payment of bills and payroll is shown in Exhibit B, contracted services and agreements is shown in Exhibit C, procurement of goods and services is shown in Exhibit D. Can I get a motion in a second?
So move.
Second. Second that.
Any discussion? Angie, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Betty Brewski-Malik.
Yes.
Kristen Kress.
Yes.
Craig Gerlach.
Yes.
Richard Murden.
Yes.
Linnea Miller.
Yes.
Gordon Shallow.
Yes.
Charles Spargo.
Yes.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting. It's nice to have everybody here tonight. I'd like to talk first about our district board summer meeting we had here in Stevens Point. It was held last month, July 15th to the 17th. It focused on presidential evaluations with a tour of our very own healthcare simulation center. Wayne Bushman was re-honored as Alumni of the Year during the Friday evening banquet. Would anyone like to comment? That was there.
The presentation on the president's evaluation was extremely
helpful.
helpful.
Yeah.
It was, I guess they really do their job, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to work with some of those ideas going forward.
I thought that the evaluation was really good. They really talked about the strong relationship between the board and the president being key, and how the president really needs feedback and deserves feedback. I thought it gave us a really good idea for our next board advance. I shared that with members of our board that were not there, so they could actually see that. I was really impressed with our healthcare simulation center. I thought it was awesome. I can't remember the simulation thing with the guy that you peel back the skin.
Oh yeah, the screen.
The animage table.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And I will say that everybody's talking about it in our group. They were just so amazed. Yeah, it was really cool. So I'm really excited for the rest of our board members to be able to see that. Any other comments?
And I think all the boards, everybody that I was with, was similarly impressed. So.
Yeah.
Our next quarterly meeting is in Waukesha, and I don't know if they've made the decision yet, but it may be a virtual meeting. So as soon as we know, we'll let everybody know.
I was really proud of the Mid-State people that were all around and
Yes.
working, always a friendly face, very
And the
efficient.
students doing the simulation.
Yeah, they were good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really nice.
And it was nice to do the drive-by.
Mhm. Yes, I got to play that navigator host, right? Got to stand just like yeah. I think I heard a number of people say that they had never been to our campus
Mhm.
and how beautiful our campus was. So I do think that they walked away maybe thinking we were really little, really small. And yet I think we really opened their eyes to just, not only the partnerships, but just what we have to offer.
Well, and also jealous of the real estate.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh, you have so much,
Yes.
so much land here.
Yes.
See, the ACCT Leadership Congress will be held October 13th to the 16th. It's focusing on advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Is there any
Yes.
possibility that might go virtual as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Discussion is underway that is transitioning to a virtual format.
So it is transitioning then?
Discussing
There's
it.
talking, I don't think the final decision has been made
Okay.
yet,
Okay.
but, and travel expenses are just astronomical,
Yes.
so.
In like where you work other places, you might be locked down on travel, not able to attend.
Regardless.
So reservations or plane tickets, we shouldn't be bothering, right? Just,
I would hold just for a moment on plane tickets, but just for this group, those that have expressed interest in attending have been registered and rooms have been reserved on hold so that we can be assured we have space. So if they go.
I believe they had extended their early bird registration until August 31st. So my thought is it'll come out probably right around Labor Day as far as what the decision is going to be.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of talk about maybe doing a face-to-face and a virtual option, or just going all virtual. So I think that's what they're trying to decide.
last year's virtual was just tremendous. It was very good. I would have no problem going through that one again, or doing another one just like this.
I think with extending the early bird, and I know sometimes they do that, but I'm sure the number of people who are registered will have some bearing on their decision,
Right.
probably as well.
Well, and then I don't know how the process would work, but it's one thing to have registered previously and then seeing the trends and then, how many people are actually, planning to go at that time.
And if everybody could mark their calendars, our board advance is Tuesday, September 28th. We are still nailing down our board topics. So if anybody has any additional feedback on what you would like to see as a board topic, please go ahead and email Angie. But we hope to have that all finalized by the end of this month.
And you would have presidential evaluation on there, correct?
Yes. Yes. Okay, so I'd like to bring up one last time the meeting format moving forward. If we could maybe nail down if we want to do in-person or virtual and vote on it. I know we've talked about it several times about continuing to offer virtual format for this meeting along with our committee. And if we could vote on it, if we should do that right now or if we should wait until our other two board members join us. The discussion is that if we continue to offer virtual format, we have to offer it for this along with our individual committees. Okay, so what do we want to do as a board?
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Say we would vote that we want it all in person, and we have another blast of COVID and it's CDC guidelines. Can we switch to virtual based because of the guidelines without?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can go back to how we are now. What we want to do is going forward I believe in October, is we want to go back to the way it was with our individual committees, where we're all broken into our committees once we have our next two board members joining us. So if we go to virtual format, we'll have to have virtual format available for our individual committees along with this as well, this board meeting. But if we go to all in person and no virtual, then we go back to the way it was before.
What would happen if we didn't do virtual for committee meetings and only for board meetings?
And I posed that question to Angie, and we would have to, do you want to clarify that, Angie?
Yeah, so we had really great conversation about this recently with the state, and basically what we would need to do, Betty, is if we set precedents that on a routine basis, we are providing an option for virtual connection to our community members and to those who want to connect, we do need to make that available for any and all meetings of this group. We can't section out which meetings we want to do that for. It needs to become a routine and consistent measure.
So that would be just for board members, not open to the public?
No.
Virtual?
No. If we make it a routine business where we open it up just in case, then we would need to make it available for the public as well and have that available at all times.
That's not my understanding. My understanding is it can be made available to board members and public would have to still do it in person, if that's stipulated that way. That's my understanding. I know the state system board is making their recommendation for their board members to be virtual, but not anybody in the public. Anybody in the public has to appear in person. So I would still.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No.
I'm not following that.
You mean for the
So
public?
you'd have a virtual meeting, but the public would go where?
Public would have to come, no, members, like Gordy is here today doing virtual. The rest of us are here, but the public would have to be in person here. We would only offer virtual to members of the board.
It
So
still
you could
doesn't make sense to
conceivably
me.
have a meeting where none of us are here except members of the public.
Right, but how often would that happen? I mean, it could happen, I suppose, but I don't know. My vote would be no. I would want virtual.
I would want to be in person if the
If we can.
CDC,
My vote would be in person with CDC guidelines.
Okay, so I guess the question is are we ready to vote on this tonight? And then to decide?
well, I feel a little uncomfortable if we're going to have two new board members and they don't get to participate in that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we
I'd wait.
should table it till October when we have a full
I
board.
prefer to meet in person.
I
But
would
I
too,
think we want everybody.
but I don't want to
And the new
restrict it all.
I think everybody, yeah, you should have the new board members here.
Yes.
Okay,
I was just gonna say in their application, I think it says in person, but, you know, if they're gonna be a board member, they probably should have a voice.
Still doesn't make any sense. They're gonna have a virtual board meeting and you could have the public in the building here. So you have to have it streamed in here too. It doesn't make any sense at all.
You'd have to have somebody to control it.
Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Of course, none of this makes any sense. Look at us.
Well, I verified it with the state office and that's how they're doing it.
Really?
Yes. And it's specific on their agenda that
For
it
the
could,
state board or for district board?
state board,
Okay,
state, Morna's board.
okay.
We had a specific conversation about this. And she said they will always allow their board to be virtual if they so choose, but it will be in person, but anybody from the public has to appear at the location of the meeting. And we can verify that. I mean, somebody could verify that for us, but that's what I was told.
We have our meetings, of course, we're back in person now, but we would be on WebEx and the only people that would be on it would be board members. But it's live streamed to the public. The public has to have access to it. But we didn't offer it in the building. That's just very different.
Well, I guess it would be worth pursuing whether the state board is different than district boards.
Sure. Sure.
okay, so let's find out that answer and then let's table it once again until we have a complete full board and put it on the October. Okay, when we do our committee meetings. And we'll finalize that. Okay, so then our next meeting is going to be September 20th. We will meet at the Wisconsin Rapids campus with committee of the whole starting at 4:30 and the regular meeting to follow. So then our committee meetings will start in October. Is that right, Angie?
Yes.
Okay, so our
Yes.
committee meetings won't start until October then, when we are a completely full board. Because I think how it works is the 2 new board members are actually not going to get,
There is potential, Kristen, that due to the timing of the state board meeting, they can be seated about 4 days after their appointment. So if it works with their schedules and we can get them here in September, you can finalize, but we wouldn't be able to start then
right,
until October.
so, okay. Okay. Then that completes that report. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Jill Steckow with the foundation report.
Ooh, that's a big check. 2 big checks.
One big, one bigger.
Oh,
Is this on?
the green?
I'm colorblind, so it doesn't matter to me. So I really don't know. So, okay. Sorry. It's one of those things that I have to live with. But anyhow, thank you very much for allowing me to be here this evening. A couple things that I do at the August board meeting report is just recap where we ended based on our dashboard from the foundation perspective. In your packets, you should have a highlight sheet from Angie in regards to what the foundation has done. Some of the significant milestones was that one of our goals for last year with COVID was to grow our endowment by $30,000 because we didn't know whether or not we'd go out and be able to have meetings and so forth. We actually were able to grow it by almost $79,000. And what's neat about that is it was 15 endowed funds that we worked on. 6 of them were brand new in this last fiscal, and 9 of them were endowments that people added to during that critical time. So we're continuing to grow our endowment. Our endowment right now is about 4.5 million. Granted, we had some fabulous years with investment earnings, but we did add significant dollars to the endowment as well. The other thing, as you know, is we had about a year ago, we actually invested in the credit card portal. And we didn't know whether or not that was going to pay off for us because we really didn't know how many credit card donations that we were going to get. We had a goal of $10,000 on our credit card portal and we brought in $12,345. So we have seen that has been a convenience. We also anticipate that it's going to be a really good avenue for us, especially once we go public with the capital campaign. For anybody who wants to just make a donation online, they'll be able to do that once we go public. We have increased collaboration with our outreach teams, not only through visits, both in person and virtually, as well as we've collaborated on a number of scholarship opportunities for them to utilize for recruitment needs. And that has seemed to be very positive. Our sponsor scholar meetings, our goal was to have 24 of those and secure 6 new sponsor scholars this past year. We actually had 30 and we secured 13. So sponsor scholar continues to grow. Those conversations continue to happen now as we are moving through into this fiscal year. So we're really excited about where sponsor scholar is going to go. Our alumni engagement, our goal was to try to set up a plan for alumni engagement and start building on the pride that our students have of being an alumni of our organization. The first thing we needed to do was scrub lists because we hadn't had any updated information. So we scrubbed a list of 32,000 names from 2000 to current. And now we have those in our database and we are starting to work on pulling together the employee alumni to find out how we want to start engaging our alumni in different ways strategically so it really has the biggest impact for our college. We also, this last year, we developed, reviewed, and updated all of our policies for the foundation, which wasn't an easy task. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I'm really proud to say that we made it through that, and now we're putting that on a rotation to review those policies quarterly based on the timing of when we need to review them. The other thing that we've been busy with is we've actually been in our 5-year strategic planning process for the foundation. We do ours after the college does theirs. One of the things that we had developed this with our strategic planning is we came up with 5 themes that we're going to be working on and putting actions and tasks on. And one was widely communicate the value and impact of the foundation, not only to the college students, employees, and donors, but to any stakeholder that we would have interested for the foundation. One of the things that we found in surveying all of our stakeholders ahead of our strategic plan was that a lot of people didn't know what we have done. So sharing and communicating and strategically thinking about how we share that information is going to be part of our goals moving forward. They also want to grow the endowment and maximize our disbursement. Right now, we have a 5% spending policy on our endowments based on 5% of the endowment for the last 3 years averaged. So we take the average of the last 3 years and then times it by 5%, and that's what our distribution is. We're going to see if we can maximize that every year to make sure that we're giving every student an opportunity to either earn a scholarship or have some sort of funding from the foundation, or if there is a need that the college has that we hadn't thought about when we were putting together budget, maybe there's money there that we can help them with a project. So we're excited about that. We're also working on a pipeline and retainment of future board members and determining our relationship between the foundation and Alumni Association. Right now, we are just starting that, but we are very excited about the ideas that have come forward so far and how we can actually make that a really robust element of the foundation, because we know if our alumni are engaged and proud of where they got educated, they're eventually going to volunteer, help with their scholarship reviews, and hopefully ultimately give to the foundation so future students can benefit as well. So we're really excited about that. And also we have been evaluating all of our fundraising strategies, whether it's an event or our credit card portal, what have you. We evaluate those to see whether or not they're hitting those benchmarks. So we're going to continue to do that to make sure that we are utilizing our resources within our office to the best ROI that we can get for the money that we put into it. One of the big things that came out of our strategic planning is we changed our mission and we changed our vision moving forward. And our new mission is going to be, or is, through the generosity of donors, the foundation invests in student success and supports Mid-State Technical College's strategic plan. That way we are focused on students, but we are also helping the college in whatever way we can. And our vision is the foundation fosters the success of every Mid-State Technical College student's education through financial assistance to strengthen Mid-State Technical College as a leading educational provider in our communities. So we feel those are very strong and will be able to really complement what our goal truly is, and that's to help the college hit their goals of helping students. And we are just one of the financial conduits to help that happen. So we're really excited about that. We are actually in the process right now scheduling a meeting to discuss our tasks and our action plans for those goals. And so we're really excited about that. Does anybody have any questions on that part so far? Okay. Other highlights from the foundation, I just wanted to share with you that the foundation assistant, Isabella, and her husband, Joey, welcomed their baby girl, May Irene, the end of July. So we are diligently working hard in the office to keep up with all the work and so forth while she's out enjoying motherhood. But we're really excited for her and Joey on that. Our distinguished alumni wall, I don't know if most of you knew this, but the wall in Stevens Point got moved from the education classroom hallway out to the main lobby across from the district board's wall. So it's more prominent, sort of like all the other walls within our college campuses. They're all in a distinguished area. So we moved that up to give it more light, which we're really excited about it. Our fall scholarship awards are actually being put onto the financial aid awarding this week. And it will be those will be distributed with the financial aid disbursement when it comes out in September. The first one. What was unique about this window is we had 123 unique scholarships and donors. Some of them had multiple scholarships with each of their gift, but we had 302 applications and we're awarding close to $300,000 compared to about 275 last year. So we're really excited about that. And our scholarship reception is going to be September 16th at 6 o'clock here in the gymnasium. Right now, we are planning in person. We are also planning a virtual alongside of it for those that don't feel comfortable coming in attending. We're actually going to be recording it live and streaming it live as it's happening. Now, if things change with COVID and we need to just take it to virtual, we're already planned for that. So, but all of you should have an invitation. Angie had passed that out. If you are interested in attending the scholarship reception, we would absolutely love to have you. Our summer golf outing was just about ready to go when I met with you guys last. We actually netted $9,300 for that golf outing with 60 golfers, which is right in line with about how much we raise at our golf events annually. So we didn't see a drop off on giving, which was a good thing, but we are evaluating the time and efforts that are put into that to see how we can maximize more revenues on that event. Our trap event is actually this Friday. So I'm pleased to say we have 15 more shooters this year than we did last year. We're at 50 shooters. Last year we had 35. We have 3 new businesses that came on board to help support this, and our sponsorships are up. So it should be a fun event. That's out at the Wisconsin Trap Shooting Association out in the Towner Room. It's been a really good addition to our events, and people seem to like it. It's a good day. And then most of you had heard me talk about free tuition Thursdays. Last Thursday, August 12th, was our last free tuition Thursday this year. And I'm happy to say that we were able to give away $15,000 to a student. The rafters struck out the side at the top of the 3rd inning. First time since we've been running this promotion in the 4 years that we've partnered with the rafters. And the student's name is Damian Haynes. Marketing is working. We got to use the big check. And he's coming in tomorrow to finish signing all the paperwork, and then we're going to be doing a press release. But I wanted you guys to be aware that, yes, we did give it away. And it was a really exciting night. I was exhausted afterwards because I shook like a leaf because I couldn't believe it was happening. So it was really cool to be able to do that. It's a great promotion. They had a great crowd. The rafters couldn't believe it. And the student was just beside himself. He was a student that shared the story just the week before that he found out that he wasn't going to have any financial aid other than loans, and he wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be able to stay enrolled in school because of that, because his job wasn't going to cover it. So when he won this, he was just beside himself, and so was his family. So it's a great story. So he's coming in tomorrow, and we're going to do a little press release on that. So the other check that Karen has is 6 months ago or 3 months ago, Shelly, 6 months ago?
I think it's closer to 3 months ago.
3 months ago.
Cliff passed, or do you mean
Yeah.
the golf outing was? Yeah.
Cliff King had passed. He was the owner of Skyward, founder of Skyward with his brother. He had passed unexpectedly in a car accident, and their organization and family decided they wanted to do something for their educational partners. So they had came up with the Crazy Shorts, Cliff King Crazy Shorts golf outing. That was held about 3 months ago, and the proceeds from that outing came to the Mid-State Foundation. And today we had a check presentation for $15,000 to be used for student scholarships and emergency funding. So that is going to go a long way in helping our students and so forth. So I just wanted to share that those are just some of the highlights from the foundation. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask. Yes, Chuck.
On the other check, are the numbers different?
No, same.
I think the print style is different, 15,000 and 15,000.
Oh, it says 500. It's the old. So every time we do free tuition Thursdays, they get $500 if the Raptors don't strike out. So this is normally a $500 check. This time they struck out, so it was
15. So we didn't get the letters changed, but it is 15.
Got it. Thank you.
So. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Next, we'll move on to the president's report with Dr. Shelly Mondike.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? 15,000 for a student. That's going to be a great press release. So I just have a couple of follow-ups on couple of emails that I had sent to all of you since our last meeting, and then just a couple of new pieces, and then just some updates on WTCS and a few other community involvement. So I'm so happy to be able to share with you the great news about our accreditation, our site visit. You may recall we had, I think our last meeting was around July 12th, something like that. And I was literally sitting next to Kristen, I think, during our district board's meeting. And I don't know why, it was around 11:30, and I just checked my emails, which I periodically do, and there was the official letter from the Higher Learning Commission. You may recall we had our site visit on May 3rd and 4th. So the official letter, I have received it, which came from the Institutional Actions Council of HLC, which basically said that they concurred with the evaluation team findings and affirmed that our institution had demonstrated the evidence that was needed in all the areas of focus. So our accreditation status is fully accredited with no monitoring, no probation, nothing of that sort at all. I have gone on the website to make sure that we are official, and we are. So that is just a huge thank you to our mid-state staff and our faculty, to you as the board of directors for supporting the ask that I brought to all of you. This is really, really a huge accomplishment, and I hope that you can celebrate that with me. So we are now back onto a normal schedule, which will mean you will hear us talk more about accreditation. We're gonna keep talking about it because we're gonna give you those normal annual updates that we have promised. But 2024-25, that's the year, everybody, where we will be up for our next evaluation. So we're gonna continue to do all the processes that we have put in play. And I really believe we've done such good work that it won't be as much work because we're just going to be able to update rather than creating, if that makes sense. But just again, a huge thank you to everybody. Karen is going to talk a little bit about in-service, but you will find as she goes through her remarks that we kind of surprised our staff last week that we had a full agenda on for the afternoon, and we really used that time for employee appreciation. And one of the elements of that was how hard everybody had worked on accreditation, and also how everybody has worked so hard on COVID. And so we'll share some of those details. So I can tell you we had a lot of wows last week from our staff, which is exactly what we were trying to accomplish. The other follow-up was regarding our district board appointment. I had sent you out an email to let you know that we have 2 new board members that are going to be joining the board, Ari Vang and Scott Grahowski. And we're so excited to bring them both on board and bring our board to a full capacity again. Ari will be filling the employee seat, and Scott will be filling the member at large seat. So as I believe Angie had mentioned, they are up for our county board have appointed them. The next step is the WTCS state board approval. They meet again next month in September. They do meet the week before our board meeting. There is some signatures, things that have to occur. So again, there is a chance that they would be able to serve on our board in September. If not, depending on their schedules, it will be in October. So just excited, and a thank you to Ari. I don't know if Scott is still here, but hopefully we haven't scared him away. So. And then a couple of new pieces is if you drove up to our Wisconsin Rapids campus today and you thought, gosh, what is happening on that triangle piece of land that is right before our main entrance? Some of you may have noticed it, some of you may not. There are some boulders, some rocks. It definitely looks like we're putting something up. We are. We unveiled it last week. We have a mascot cougar, a mid-state cougar, that of course is our mascot. That we had, one of our welding faculty had an idea that they could design and fabricate and build a mid-state cougar. And I got to tell you, it is amazing. I think Karen may show you a picture tonight. Over 600 pieces that our faculty and our staff, Ben and Aaron, put together. So we knew what they were doing. We supported them along the way. We wanted to make sure that we had a proper place to put it. And as we worked with facilities and our landscaping, we're like, that's the place. So the next time you come to our Wisconsin Rapids campus, it will be up. We unveiled it, but there just needed to be a little bit more work to do. So we are hoping that it will be back out there on next Monday. But the next time you come, it will be there. So I didn't want you to be surprised. Unless you come by Monday. And I just need to tell you, our staff, they really wanted to do the unveiling at in-service. They worked through the night to make sure that they could do it. And we have a picture that, again, I think Karen's going to show you, and talk about a proud day. You know, we've been very much trying to have our employees be engaged. And when they brought this idea forward, I loved it. I got to tell you, the executive team loved it. And we wanted to empower them to do it. And it's well done. You will definitely feel very proud when you see it, which definitely our staff did as well. The second new topic is around ACCT. You may recall last year we had submitted a proposal to the conference to be able to present on our Mid-State Healthcare Simulation Center, and we had been approved, which is really a feather in our hat when you can be approved to speak at the national conference. I can tell you that we put in a proposal to be able to talk about what we've done at the Addams High School on the admit day, and it got accepted. We were chosen once again. Talk about 2 for 2. So I have to give kudos to Mandy and to Bobby. They wrote the proposal. This means that if it is virtual, we will definitely be talking about it again. We'll be asking some of you as board members to help be part of that. If it is in person, we will definitely be having our staff present it there as well. But I just hope you're really proud. I'm just so that, you know, from a national standpoint, again, they liked what we put together. So just a huge presence again for Mid-State. So big deal, big deal.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It is. 2 for 2, and you know, people in education will tell you, you might put in a proposal and never get chosen really in your career. Sometimes that happens. It all depends on who submits and so forth, but yeah, really proud. From a community involvement, I just have a couple of things. Over the last month, I've been part of a number of the advanced manufacturing campaign meetings, all continuing to try to advance that project. And again, Bobby will be giving you an update today. As far as Central Wisconsin Manufacturing Alliance, you will hear of them. They are SWIMA. They had their annual golf outing. We had Mid-State volunteers and staff that participated in that event. We're so happy to work with SWIMA. They provide scholarships to our students along with giving money for programming that we do. So we had a Mid-State presence there as well. And then on
Do they still do the
Metal Mania?
annual, the heavy metal tour? And then,
Yes.
I don't know, with COVID and everything.
Yep, they had
But-
put it on hold last year and they put it on hold again for fall.
Okay,
Usually
and
it's
then
in
are they-
October.
Are they still doing that welding competition?
They do the Metal Mania, the welding competition. Deb? Yes,
Yeah.
Ryan? Okay, wonderful. On August 2nd, which was, last Friday, we participated in a ribbon cutting with the Stevens Point Fire Department. And it was with our partnership with our 10-year agreement to really be able to say we're going to continue to collaborate and put some of our resources through our academic budget to be able to support some training props in that area. It was a great event. Linnea, thank you for coming. And definitely, if you have any words, I would like for you to share what you experienced. We had the state fire marshal there. We had the Chief Finn, who really was his idea, who allowed us to be part of this project. Really just a big deal. The mayor was there. We were offering the first class that the state has offered around fire inspection on those grounds that day, people from around the state. So it really, you build it, it will come. So just really proud of that. And I believe we have a video. We continue to get good press, which really tells you that your stock is up. And so I believe we wanted to show that. But well, maybe Angie's bringing that up. Linnea, did you want to share anything
Yeah, it
about the
was-
event?
It was amazing. You didn't need signs to get there because you just had to follow the traffic. Because everybody was going there.
Oh,
And it was really well attended and is he Chief Finn? Is that the
yes, Chief Finn.
He was super excited and it was just fun to be around to watch it. And one of the speakers talked about Shelly and how none of this would happen without her and how it's, you know, so much more to be done. And it just was heartwarming to see that this is only one project, but you can just see in their minds that there is more to come.
Yeah, it
I was
was.
proud.
Except when I said to the chief, I looked at him and said, you know, it all started with an idea, and just think we'll be back here 5 years from now and we'll take a picture of how the grounds look very different. And he looked at me, he said, he didn't say it publicly, but he was, well, now I am saying it publicly, but he'll maybe come back in shorts because I think retirement is in his future, probably a little bit earlier than 5 years, but go ahead, Angie. Thank you.
There, but Now, thanks to a continued partnership, it will be even bigger and better. A ribbon cutting ceremony took place earlier today. The site is from a partnership between the Stevens Point Fire Department and Mid-State Technical College. Stevens Point Fire Chief Bob Finn says the purpose is to bring training resources closer to home.
The closest one is Rapids, and there's a lot of people that live in the Stevens Point area. They have to travel there. By having it here, Mid-State's allowing students that live in the area to stay in the area.
The training facility will focus on up-to-date skills. Stakeholders are hoping the facility could attract people from the states and even the country. President of Mid-State Technical College says the construction site will look completely different in 2 years.
Have you speak?
There was many different clips that were out there over the news. So there are some with me, and I'm so thankful you chose that one, Angie. Yes, we were on the news quite a few times at the different hours. You know how they kind of do a different thing at 5 and maybe a different thing at 6 and a different one at 10. And then I also had my first meeting with the new Chancellor at Uwsp. That has been something that I've been trying to connect with Chancellor Gibson. And I just want to tell you that I had a really good meeting with him and really talked about what we're hoping to accomplish. And he was able to share some of his thoughts of where he also sees where Uwsp is. I very much talked about transferability, and I really think that we could do something special together with a partnership around the liberal studies for the Associate of Arts and Science. And he very much committed to explore, so I appreciate that. So I'm just very happy because I think when our partnership is strong, we can be strong. And with that partnership, remember, we need to have a university partner to be able to offer that coursework. And right now, because we cannot, we work with Nicolay because they have that transferability where we as a standalone do not. So no, that's something we'll continue to work with because I would love to have my local university be my partner for that.
Any discussion about how is the Marshfield campus doing?
We did have some discussion. I think he is very much trying to observe and be able to determine what maybe his next steps or the direction that he would like to take with the Marshfield campus. I think right now, and I can definitely understand this coming into a new role, probably taking the 6 months to a year just to be able to observe and watch. We talked a little bit about, I shared my ideas, how I felt that we could maybe help with enrollments at the Marshfield campus, and I think he was very much interested in those. So I hope that he'll maybe at least consider some of the things that I brought up. He does have a community college background, so he had worked at a 2-year institution. So I think he really does value 2-year education and sees how it really needs to be seamless, not only for the students, but for communities as well. So I think he definitely will have some decisions that he'll need to make moving forward, but I know he wants to take some time to be able to understand it before he has to make any decisions. Very good conversation. From a WTCS update, July was busy. July 13th and July 14th was WTCS State Board meeting, which I participated in. We also, on the afternoon of the 14th, we had President's meeting. When you think of July, it's all organizational type things that we're talking about right now, being able to prepare for the new year. Excited to have all the new presidents of the WTCS in their roles now. So we spent a big amount of time of just mentoring and bringing the new presidents into the fold. We have 4 of them, if you recall. And then with Richard at Waukesha that came in January, we have 5 new presidents out of the 16. So a lot of mentoring and just bringing people up to speed on what is happening. And then I had shared with you that I'm also the presidential liaison to the ISA group for the state, which is the instructional service administrator. So it's all your vice president of academics, people like our Deb Stencil, and know that was my background. So I'm very much looking forward to spending more time with them and trying to help guide and shape where we go from an instruction standpoint as well in the state. And they have their first meeting on August 5th, which I participated in. That would end my report, Kristen, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Shelly. We'll move on to our committee reports. We'll go on to the Finance and Infrastructure Committee with Chuck Spargo.
All right, thank you. We've already addressed our consent agenda items, so I'll move into the treasurer's report. And because our July meeting was earlier in the month, we didn't have financials then, so we get a double whammy this month. So the first part is the treasurer's report for the month of June. We've got some budget modifications on page 14. And there are several lines there of COVID funding for payroll protection. I struggled a little bit understanding this, and if I make a mess of it, Greg can straighten things out. But if you go to the next page where you're talking about current budget, normally you'd have every item in the budget modifications sheet would roll over into the current budget in the revenues or expenditures section. But the COVID funding being from the federal government is a little bit different, and it operates more like bond revenue. So it doesn't show up in revenue and expense lines like it normally would. It goes right down into fund equity. And it's a little bit fuzzy in my mind still, but some of this money has already been spent, and now we're getting to use the COVID funding that was awarded to us, but was held for our use. So we're getting some of our money back, I think is the way to say it, and it shows up in the fund equity section of the page.
But it doesn't say anything about COVID in the fund equity itself.
No.
It's just into those accounts.
Yes, it goes into those accounts.
Okay.
So you'll see the change primarily in Fund 1 and Fund 2. Those are the two biggest ones. The 361 and the 254 are some of the adjustments. The 361 includes the COVID funding as well as the traditional transfer that we get from the Enterprise Fund 5, $120,000. So the $120,000 is added to about $240,000 to get that 361 to improve the fund equity in the budget section. And then the next page shows current actuals for the fiscal year.
Could you back up just one?
Yep.
When you talked about the 120, was that the original budget? That's in the last column?
That was the original budget, but that's a transfer from Enterprise Fund.
I'm a column down, okay.
$120,000
Yep.
annually we get that.
Okay,
And is that book revenue,
That's,
Greg?
that is a transfer from our enterprise fund to the bookstore.
Bookstore. So the bookstore makes some money and it helps Fund 1. So that 120,000 is traditional,
okay.
but it just
Okay.
adds to what was the COVID of 241,000. So that's why you get 361.
Okay, okay.
Those numbers again show up in the actuals because it happened in this past month. The expenditures, revenues, except for that funny stuff that goes down below, for the month of June was $2.4 million, and our expenditures were $5.9 million. For the year to date, the expenditures exceed revenue by about $6.9 million, which sounds excessive. But keep in mind that the revenue that we're talking about up above does not include bond revenue. So our expenses exceeding revenue, going more than 6.9 million more than we received, doesn't include the bond revenue of 6 million. So I think it's more fair to say that year-to-date expenditures exceeded revenue by about $900,000. Is that right, Greg? Okay. Because bond revenue doesn't show up in the top lines of revenue, it shows up down below. So the year-to-date receipt of revenue is at, I think that's 98%. I'm gonna have to get better magnifiers. And our expenditures are at like 93%. So we're underspending.
First number is 96.
I'm sorry?
That first number is
Thank you.
96.
Thank you. We're underspending with respect to revenue a little bit, which is good. The next page shows our our balance sheet and indicates cash and investments on hand of $21.3 million, which is good. Any questions on the June one? Greg, any clarifications you'd like to add?
Nothing.
On June? Okay, we'll move on to July then. A little bit more straightforward because we don't have the COVID stuff to confuse me. Page 18 is the budget. And I think the nomenclature is changing. Now it's budget notifications because we're really not modifying the budget yet. This is just notifying us that it will be forthcoming. Twice a year we get the formal board adoption of the budget changes, but this is just a notification that they will be coming. So these adjustments are being provided to us, and most of these then roll right over into the budgeted revenues and expenditures change on page 19. So relatively minor adjustments. On the sheet that I printed out, and if you see it online, the budgeted fund equity there is shown in highlighted in yellow, or highlighted if you didn't print it out in color. That's a rollover from the June. And this is budgeted fund equity in terms of, we believe this is where we're going to end up, but we don't know where we will end up until the audit is done and the adjustments are made. So this is kind of a temporary one, right? Or preliminary, Greg? But it looks like we're in a good position there. Current actuals are on the next page, page 20. We've got just 3.9% of the revenue received. That is again ignoring the fact that we had bond revenue. That's down below. So we've got more like 6 million that we received, 4 million in bond revenue and 2 million in other revenues up above. But in terms of the revenues in our budget, it's about 3.9 or 4% of our budgeted revenues have been recognized or received. And our expenditures are at 7.9%. But again, that includes capital projects that are funded by the bond revenue of $4 million down below. And changes in fund equity are shown there as adjusted by the expenditures and revenues made. The next page, page 21, shows the balance sheet, and the balance sheet, the cash and investment balance increased somewhat from the prior month. It's now 22.4 million instead of the 21.3 million. That's it on the financial reports, unless there are questions for July of 2021. Greg, anything you want to add for July? Okay, all right. Then moving on, the next item on our agenda is the 3-year facilities plan. Matt?
Thanks, sir.
Hello again.
Oh, yeah.
Most of you are aware, if you've been on the board for some time, that each year, each of the 16 districts is required to submit a 3-year facilities plan that has to be approved by the district board and then submitted to the state. In 2019, Midstate conducted a SWOT analysis to determine the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that we have at each of our 4 campuses. We developed a 5-year plan based on that SWOT analysis for each campus. This year, we took the additional step, and academics took the lead on this, of prioritizing some of those facilities needs. So that SWOT analysis looks at many things, not just facilities, but our products and services and offerings and operation. And facilities, of course, is part of that. Academics took that and reprioritized it for this year and came up with a 4-year plan, 3 of which are captured here as part of the 3-year plan that I'm bringing forward to you tonight. This submission is for essentially the current year, 2001, or sorry, we're well past that, 2021 through 2024. If you, and these plans are in front of you, by the way, and I'll get to those in a moment, but as you could expect, the one for the current year is highly accurate. It's a capital budget that we've already approved. We're executing that plan. As you go out subsequent years, it's more subject to change as priorities or things like COVID or any number of things come along or priorities change. The further you get from the current year, it's still an accurate plan, but there's still, and the state understands this, possibilities that things may not be what you planned in the second or third year. But the second year is hopefully, for the Stevens Point reason particularly, still going to be exactly as we have it shown here. So if you look at the packet in front of you, you'll see that it's 16 pages. Pages 1 through 6, there's 3 groups. Pages 1 through 6, that is the 3-year plan, essentially. That lists all of the projects. Now within there are some major construction projects, but then there are also a lot of projects that fall into the category called capital improvement. This would be like roof replacements, concrete work, things that you have to do to maintain the physical plant. A little less glamorous, but even still we must budget for those, and you'll see them in there as well. Page 7 is also a mandatory requirement. It's basically a capture data of the facilities and holdings that Midstate has. You'll see each of the 4 campuses listed, and you'll also see added there now this year our lease space with the Spires Riverview Hospital for the Health Simulation Center. After page 7, and this would be pages 8 through 16, it's essentially a re-listing of what you find in pages 1 through 6, just with a little more detail. In those, they want to know the relative size of the project, to the extent that you know it, the expected cost, how it will be funded, and the estimated completion. And they literally ask for that as the year that it would be completed. So pages 8 through 16, you'll essentially see the same things you see in pages 1 through 6. That being the case, I'm going to focus on pages 1 through 6 for this evening to point out some of the high points. Again, I'm not going to go into the roof replacements and concrete repairs and things of that sort. This year that we're in right now, we have 2 major projects. We have one here in Wisconsin Rapids, which is the Culinary Remodel, and then also in Marshfield we have the North Parking Lot. If you look at page 1 of your document under Wisconsin Rapids, it should be the first one listed. That's the Culinary Remodel. That project is nearing completion as we speak. It will be usable completely. We have some equipment delays and things that we're dealing with, but it will be a functioning kitchen that students will be able to learn in, well, frankly now, but certainly by next Monday as well. If you look at the top of page 2.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Number 6, can you explain, I'm not sure the concept of OCR accessibility improvements?
Yep. So Office of Civil Rights, Dan Scanlon is the, essentially like the facilities person at the system level that we all report to as districts when we have something we need for state approval. Every few years, they audit each of the, well, not each of the districts. They go on a rotation schedule. Ours was in 2019, so they'll go through and identify places where you're not compliant, for instance, with accessibility. And you have 2 years to complete those projects. So we completed a large chunk of those projects last summer during the last year, and then the remainder of those are being completed now, this year.
Is OCR, is that optical character recognition?
No, I'm sorry. I tried to get all the acronyms out of here at the persuasion of the people who reviewed this for me today.
Civil Rights. Office of Civil Rights.
That's correct.
Okay, okay.
Sorry, Rick.
That's what I was stuck on. Okay.
Yep.
I did. I removed all the acronyms. I spelled everything out, and one slipped through. Thanks for pointing that out, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a question, Matt.
Yep.
Will all 12 of these items at the Rapids campus get done this year?
Yep, that is the
No
plan.
problem, huh?
Mhm.
Yep. There are a few that we're holding back just to make sure that as culinary comes to completion, any change orders that occurred with that, we want to make sure that we fund those projects. But barring any unforeseen major change orders or things of that
It's a
sort.
lot of work.
There's a lot of work. The summer list this summer was particularly hectic. So, and in this environment, it made it even more complicated. But I'll keep moving unless there's other questions at the moment. Like I said, at the top of page 2, that's where we have the Marshfield parking lot project. That also is under construction right now. If anyone's been to the Marshfield campus, it's tore up. Ironically, the entire area around that campus is tore up too. The city's doing work there at the same time we are, so it's a muddy mess up there, but it's good to see. We'll have a new considerable amount of increased landscaping and a new parking lot on that end of the building to encourage traffic through, make our SSIC, our student services area, more accessible. In the coming year, so that covers the two big projects that I really wanted to point out for this year that aren't more routine things. In the coming year, if you look at the top of page 3, you'll see what's been referred to once already this evening is our student union or our student life project. It consists of 2 parts, actually. One is new construction, an addition at the cafeteria, which we're all familiar with. And then also within the cafeteria, that portion of it's the remodel. And that includes the kitchen and the student life area, essentially. So.
And keep in mind, these items that are 22, 23, 23, 24, you haven't seen all of them.
Nope.
It's part of our strategic plan and what we've put out. And the reason why we submit this to the state is when you think of our WTCS, we have the purchasing consortium. They want to see what we're doing from a facility standpoint and then also what we do from an academic standpoint, just so again, they kind of know what's coming. We could submit this and in 22, 23, we could change it all. So just please know that. It's just really to make sure that we're doing our diligence to know where we're headed. So.
That's correct. Page 3, again, where the under Wisconsin Rapids, where the student life project is listed. Towards the bottom of page 3, you'll notice that under the Stevens Point campus, you'll see the Advanced Manufacturing, Engineering, Technology, and Apprenticeship Center. We've all very familiar with that. In fact, we've alluded to it a little bit earlier tonight as it pertains to construction management services. That we have listed as an FY23 project. And if we keep the momentum that it seems we've gained, I'm excited, frankly, for that, and hope it could come sooner, but there's limitations to how quickly we can get there. So that's listed here.
And know that for capital, $5,000 is the benchmark. So that's why you won't see anything under here that is under 5,000. So just keep that in mind as well. Those are the guidelines that we follow through the state.
That's right. And 2 years useful life. It has to have a life of 2 years or more. Those 2 criteria. So the Stevens Point Manufacturing Center. If you go to page 4 at the top, you'll see the Marshfield West parking lot. I just referred to the north parking lot where we're increasing availability for parking for people who are on that end of the campus and also encouraging traffic through our front door and making its accessibility as well. Part of what you had referred to, Rick, with the ADA, OCR, Office of Civil Rights. This project that we're doing on the north end actually alleviates some of the findings of the WTCS. So there's a lot of elements being captured by that project. The west parking lot, with some modifications, has the footprint to be a motorcycle training lot. And so we've added to our, I keep wanting to say fiscal year, but our 2022-2023 project list, making those modifications so that parking lot can be expanded to dual purpose, serve as a parking lot, of course, as it does now, but then also be able to hold motorcycle safety instruction on there as well. If you look near the middle of page 4, hopefully you're all able to follow along. The page numbers are at the bottom. I apologize if I didn't mention that before. You'll see a plan for the Addams Campus. The SSIC on the Addams Campus now is to your left when you walk in the door, so it's almost kind of around the corner. The idea would be to move it across the hallway to where like the community engagement room is there in the vending area for several reasons. Security is one of them. You can see then who's coming through the door instead of basically, and so they're right on top of you, which is a consideration. The goal would be also then to better serve students by having, since we're going to make that move, be able to lay it out so and make the available services so that students have more availability and we can better serve them essentially. Also, by moving it across the hall, then we have the space where like Lori's office in the SSIC was to better use that space as well for programs, right size classrooms, things of that sort that we're still working in the midst of working on. Okay, 5 and 6, again, we're out there to that 3rd year. There are projects listed on there. I'm not going to go through those in much detail because it's time spent that, as Shelly alluded to as well, is very much in its infancy, very schematic in the concepts that we're coming up with. Some of it's, big, open spaces here and how do we best utilize those. But I encourage you to look over pages 5 and 6 for all 4 campuses as well.
Yeah, can you comment on the conference center concept?
Sure. So that's one thing, and I don't know if you'd like to, Shelly.
No, please,
Okay.
Matt, go ahead. I can.
Yep. So having a conference center, a place where we could use, of course, academically for larger gatherings. I know student services works with students to try pre-COVID, mind you, and hopefully post-COVID, to get them together in larger groups so that they have some of that training about how to be a successful student and now you're new to mid-state. But then also we can be reach out to our industry partners and community to make that available as well. It could be revenue, but that's really not the point, leasing that space. Workforce and economic development can hold larger training sessions to bolster their mission. What we have are areas throughout the college that are large that could be used perhaps better than they are, or the functions that are in them maybe should be in a slightly different place. The library, for instance, or the link is a big open space. Is it being used maximally for what it could be? Or could those services be offered somewhere else that would be in a better location? We have areas of the college that we do no longer use that we really should be using. We're heating them and cooling the media services, if you recall, what used to be the learning commons on the far end of the campus. Now that's a little bit out of the way, but that's a space that we need to do something with. So this is a much bigger thing where we're looking at all these various spaces, and before we make any moves, very thoroughly go through where should things be, what size should they be, what services should they have. You'll see in there too, we've included the Employee Development Center and the Institutional Effectiveness, Accreditation and Quality. That'd be Beth Ellie's group. So where would they go? They need a place to best perform their work.
So if I add to it to give you a couple of examples, maybe exactly complementing what Matt has said, we are just having some conversations, which I think you always should be doing. Are you maximizing the space you have? So when you think of our link, that is a really large prime space on our main corridor. That is not always highly utilized. And could that space be a conference center, which I think you would agree would be right off of our new culinary area from a catering standpoint, and then possibly our adult basic education or adult education that's in there would move more to a classroom to just really be able to maximize that space. When that space was built, and that was prior to me, we have some smaller rooms in there. The walls don't go to the ceiling, so you can't have confidential conversations. That it's a large space that I think could really be maximized more. When we want to have a conference that we need 150 people, we can't have it on campus unless we move it to our gym, which we've been able to do it, but if we have a large space, can we maximize it, increase enrollment, be more of a community engagement hub than what we are? So that would be one example. The media services that Matt was talking about, that was our print shop. We no longer have an inside print shop, so we have a space that we'd like to utilize. Should that be a classroom? Should that be an employee training center? If you know where our auditorium is, I think you would say that our auditorium is very outdated. And our employee development center is right across the way, which you will, if you walk past there right now, they're really squashed in there, which doesn't make a lot of people want to go into a room where the staff are already sitting on top of each other. So we're having these very high level conversations about what can we do to try to maximize all the space that we have. So just ongoing conversations. Some of this may come to a reality, some of it may not, but many conversations that are happening.
Would you still consider keeping the gym or?
Oh, absolutely. No, the gym is, I think, a niche for us. Absolutely. But we want to maximize the gym because the gym gets used for graduation. But it could really be an indoor training center, how we could mock it up to have maybe an emergency village there. We got to be able to have portable things that we can bring in and out of the gym to really maximize it. But no, I think, my opinion, having the gym is a wonderful thing. But unfortunately, it can't be used for instruction on a regular basis because it's another big space that when we need a space, we go to the gym. But when we've had our conferences up to this point, we've done them in the gym. And we can do it, but it takes a lot from a facility, making sure that it has, the right, just the heating, everything is just a little bit different. So
And it's
I will
limited as
tell
well.
you from the day I walked in, our link is prime spot here. When you think about it, overlooking the water, what that potential space could be. Here in Wisconsin Rapids, there are not a lot of conference. We've talked to the mayor about that. Could we become a community hub for him and what needs to be done? It's very attractive. So we're just really trying to look at all of our spaces and maximize what we can to retain our students, increase enrollment, increase traffic, which I think is what we should be doing. So some of this is pie in the sky, but it's also, we'll have reasons why we would
Where it
make any
starts.
changes.
And I will attest to having kind of started to move into a leadership role in those meetings that Bobby really kind of started with, how do we maximize these spaces? There's a lot of thorough conversations. I field a lot of this, information and how do we move this person here, well, then they get to this place, but to get it right, a lot of conversations. So it's not, willy-nilly by any means. So in fact, this entire 3-year plan, I'm proud to bring it, frankly. It's the analysis we did back in 2019. We've been following, of course, pie in the sky. We added so much to that you can't possibly do it all in 1 year. So things have had to move, and that's where kudos to Deb for taking the academic leadership team and saying we need to prioritize this and get real with it. We can put out a 3-year facilities plan that says we're going to spend $20 million next year. It's not going to happen. So let's get this right. Let's plan this out better. And ALT, our academic leadership team, did that. I assisted with pricing and different things, and they fed this back to me, and that's what we have here is a workable plan. Again, some of it's still in its infancy. It's where it starts, but they're the right ideas that we need to put flesh on those bones and move forward. Go ahead, Chuck.
This is just structural dollars. You're not including any equipment.
Correct. Yep. This is facilities.
Okay, just facilities
Yep.
or paving or whatever.
Yes, facilities and grounds.
Yep.
Yes, things that would fall under the facilities umbrella. If it's, it doesn't include simulation mannequins or things like that. We would provide the facility, the power, water if it needs it, but that would be under the academic budget.
Yep.
Correct.
I just want to make a point that you all realize we're borrowing $5 million this year and $2 million are being used for facilities. The balance then would be academic projects, IT projects, equipment to fill the rooms for people. I don't know if that falls under academic or what.
Yeah, instructional
So
equipment.
only 40% is building related. The rest of the 60% is academic and equipment and so forth. So good.
That's good formula.
Good point, Chuck. Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I will remind that this is something that the state asked that the district board approve. So I don't know the timing very well, but
If it's time, I would make a motion to
I
approve.
would ask Angie to be sure.
Yes, it is time.
I'll second.
Do we need
Do you need a roll call on that?
Voice vote.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, and I think we have one other item on the agenda, and that was Greg.
Yes. Thank you, Chuck. Good evening. Well, we've finished up our June 30th, 2021 fiscal year, and we are going to be in our audit here shortly. Our auditors will begin field work in-house or on-premise on September 13th to the 17th. And we anticipate our year-end results finalized at our November board meeting. So at that time, the auditors will be back in November to present our year-end results. Any questions on the audit? As Chuck might have mentioned, if you were looking at the first column on the actuals page, our general operations, currently we have overspent our revenue by about $8,900 for our fiscal year 2021.
How much?
About $8,900, $8,900. We've overspent our revenue in. So, and there's some adjustments to come, which should actually be a little bit more beneficial to
I thought it
us.
was 890,000.
No,
Okay,
the operating income was $8,900
okay.
of overspent revenue.
Not bad.
So hopefully the auditors will confirm that number over the next couple of months.
With previous issues with previous audit firms, are we continuing with the same auditing?
We are
firm?
not.
No.
If you remember, we have moved to Whitley. Whitley
Okay.
was awarded the RFP.
Okay,
So yes, we're excited about that change.
okay, good.
And yes, and I know that, but I guess I should say, I think Greg, you shared with me that the firm that we're no longer going to be using, the person that we are now working with, Greg has shared with me, has just been dynamite as we transition. So I think it also speaks to people, represent an organization. Represent an organization can definitely swing the reputation of that company. So, but we will try the new firm, and we're excited to work with them as well.
They're very responsive to our questions when we ask. They are back within the same day, within a couple hours, compared to the previous firm who would be.
Days.
I actually had asked Shelly a few times to
Days.
contact them for us because they were unresponsive.
Thank
you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Greg gave me one other item, just informational, a financing timetable, because we've borrowed 4 million of the 5. We've got 1 million left. And he gave me a timetable of that schedule, and it starts with the official disclosure on August 31st, and it will wrap up with settlement on November 8th. And he's got a whole schedule of stuff. So we'll be going through the process again for $1 million. And we had to split it up, you recall, because you can't do so much. I think it was in remodeling was the limit. So we split it up into 2 bond issues. So we've got a smaller one coming up over the next several months. So that concludes our Finance and Infrastructure Committee report.
Thank you, Chuck. We'll move on to the Academic and Student Services Committee with Betty Brusky-Malik.
Tonight, we only have 2 informational items. The first one is the FY22 Readiness, and Dr. Deb Stencil will give us some information on.
Good evening. As we anticipate the start of the fall 2021 semester on August 23rd, so next Monday, we provide several opportunities and activities around professional development to make sure that we're prepared, that our academic team is prepared and ready to have a successful semester and a good year. So I want to key in on a couple of things that we have going on at this time. So the first thing that we typically do before the start of the fall semester is we have 10 faculty teaching and learning days. These days are scheduled prior to the start of the fall semester to provide faculty time to prep for their classes, generate their syllabi, open up Blackboard for their courses, get just-in-time instructional support, and attend team and school meetings. So those days started last Monday, and they'll go, they extended last week and as well as this week. Faculty in service is our second big thing prior to the start of the fall semester, and that was held today. Our theme today was Aspire to Inspire, and we had general and breakout sessions planned by Education Services and also a small group of faculty who provided input into the agenda. In addition to receiving academic updates, faculty participated in sessions learning about Civitas, which is a software program that we have. We are implementing the early alert system. So we've done a pilot, but we've provided some training today on how faculty can connect with advisors and alert them when they're concerned about their students' progress. They learned about how to create their syllabi using WIDS, connecting with students through rich discussion and interaction in Blackboard, using universal design for capturing, creating inclusivity in classrooms, using assessment data, we've talked about that before, using assessment data to improve student learning, and helping students to optimize their own learning. So essentially, how do we teach students how to learn? We kind of have to back up sometimes and help them kind of set themselves up for success so that they can learn in our classrooms. And then the final thing that we do right at this time of the year is program review, and that will be held later this week. During a 2-hour facilitated session, faculty review program-specific data, including last year's data, as well as trend data to determine strengths and opportunities for improvement. This year, we're specifically asking that faculty identify and implement strategies aligned with 3 college-wide goals. Those 3 college-wide goals are HLC sustainability. Again, we've talked here, it's not a once and done. We have work that we need to do every year to continue our accreditation efforts. The second item is COVID recovery, and this specifically relates to our enrollment and our re-engagement of staff here on campus. And then finally, the third college-wide goal relates to student success. And specifically, we want them to think about and implement strategies to improve course completion and then fall to spring retention. Finally, we're also making sure that our classrooms are ready to go. So we've invited our faculty to go into their classrooms, check out the equipment, make sure they know how to use the equipment, and make sure everything is placed for the first day of class. So we know that starting the academic year takes intentional efforts of many people, and we're excited and we're ready to start. And we know we'll have a even more successful year. Any questions about anything that we're working on?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is student debt forgiveness, and that's under Dr. Mandy Lang.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We recently implemented a COVID student debt forgiveness program, and I wanted to share those details with you. As you know, we received COVID funds through the American Rescue Plan, half of which is directed to student grants, and half of which is the institution uses to direct based on needs due to COVID. So as part of our institutional funds, we recognized that this was a really particularly difficult financial time for many of our students, as well as a time where some had to stop attending college because of family, finances, health, or other things that were really going on in their life during the pandemic. And so we wanted to try to re-engage them by helping out with one aspect of that, their debt to the college. So we decided to take a 3-tier approach with this. And first, everyone who still had a balance on their college account from spring of 2020 through spring of 2021 would receive up to a $500 in debt forgiveness. And this would wipe out the balance for about 400 students. And then second, those who have a balance over 500 have the opportunity to submit a short application for an additional 500. And then finally,
would that be 1,000 then?
Yep, that would be a total of 1,000 then. And then finally, for those who owe over 1,000, we're doing a match for anything over that. So if a student owed 1,500, they could get the first 1,000 completely forgiven, and then that last 500, if they would put in 250, then we will match that with a second 250 to finish off paying off their debt to the college. This approach really gives every student since spring of 2020 a pathway to have their balance forgiven. And this was a total of around 750 students.
All total or just the over 1,500?
All total. Yep, all total. So to communicate this, we called each student and also sent them a letter. And the students that we talked to were just so thrilled. Even the staff who made the calls were excited to make them, and we're excited for the students. When I asked about how the calls were going, every employee that I talked to about it, they just smiled so big, and they said really great. They've enjoyed making these calls because it's such a positive thing for our students. There are quite a few students who are re-enrolling, and we'll be tracking that a little bit more closely once classes begin. I will say though, that even for those who don't enroll right now, they will remember this. So when they decide to continue their education down the road, Midstate will be top of mind, and in a really good way. Whereas perhaps maybe they would have been ignoring a phone call before, now they really think of us in a very good light. We're also happy, always happy, when the media picks up our news, as they did with this. So Angie, do you want to share that news clip?
And we are not alone. There are other colleges that are doing this as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not as well, though.
This is
I mean,
a
No,
process
we do it
that
better.
has gone to many different areas, including upgrading school security systems, training school resource officers, and creating a threat assessment study with the University of Wisconsin and 40 schools around the state.
Midstate Technical College is bringing financial relief to its students who attend Midstate during the pandemic between spring of 2020 and spring of this year will have $500 cut from their existing debt. An additional $500 of relief is also available to the students through a simple application process. Midstate will use $600,000 of its institutional American Rescue Plan funding for those cuts.
After a year off, the Wisconsin State Fair is underway.
You picked the one that didn't have you on there.
She's maybe doing that on purpose, Mandy, to us tonight. I don't know, huh?
I saw the one with you.
Good. Any questions at all about this?
Has there been any negative feedback?
There hasn't. You know, we were anticipating those questions, that if they did come up. The good thing is that all students are eligible for additional funding this coming year through the COVID emergency grants. So they can, all students, regardless of if they have financial aid or not, can apply for emergency grants that help them out too.
Can I ask, after these COVID payments, are there still students with debt out there that had the debt before COVID?
Pre-COVID, yes.
There still is. Would they not qualify?
No, this is specifically per the federal government during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our committee report.
Thank you, Betty. Then we'll move on to Human Resources and External Relations Committee with Luann.
You have one informational item. Dr. Karen Brzezinski will do highlights of Midstate Night at the Rafters and Midstate Collegewide in-service highlights.
Yeah, I get all the fun stuff. So as you heard Deb say, one of our college-wide goals for 21-22 is COVID recovery, which includes re-engagement of staff. So we had been intermittently here, some of us here a lot, some not very much, for over a year. And so when it was Midstate Night at the Rafters, we really wanted to have a great night and to be able to celebrate being together. So that was our first employee event we hosted this summer. So employees and their families were invited to the Rafters game, which includes a picnic beforehand, a raffle for some great prizes. We take a group picture. This year we got to go out into the outfield right by our logo on the fence. And then of course the fabulous game. So we had about 300 people this year, including Betty and her family and Rick and his wife attended. I was watching the weather every minute, and it looked like we were going to get it, and then it completely held out, and so we had beautiful weather. This is our group out in the. You can't really see who they are because there's so many of us. We're
Betty's in the gray.
Yeah.
So are you.
There's Betty. There's Bobby. Anyway, great night. It was great fun, and the weather held out for us, so we were really great. I'm really happy for that. This night, Grit met Roscoe for the first time. That's
amicably.
Yes. But I'll tell you, you'll see the picture. The rat's bigger than the cooker. This is a family, the Pop family. Some of you know Zach Pop, our director of enrollment, and that's him and his family. A lot of family pictures with Grit.
Great picture.
And then I think we have the Grit meeting Roscoe. There they are. Yeah, we got it. Roscoe got a new costume this year, and Grit had a great time at the game, although it was pretty hot in that costume.
Grit's much cuter.
Yeah. Well, you can't. How cute can you make a rat? You know.
Well, yeah. The new Roscoe is a lot more friendlier than the old.
Yeah,
Roscoe.
they say it's less creepy than the old one. I don't know. We just want Roscoe, who's just fun. Or Grit, he's just fun. He's not creepy. He's not weird. He's just fun. So that was our first kind of back together fun time of the summer. And then we had Collegewide in-service last Wednesday, the 11th. And this was our time when all employees and only employees get together. We do it twice a year. I report out on them usually. And we have some professional development amongst our staff, and kind of the August one is always really fun because it's like getting ready for the school year. You know, everybody's pumped up, and especially this year, we hadn't seen each other in so long. And we really wanted to do something special for our employees. So as Shelly alluded to earlier, we put an agenda together that was true for the morning and fake for the afternoon. And it was a lot of fun. So we had planned on holding it outdoors. You'll see in the pictures, we had big tents. The morning we had what our normal, we had breakfast, we had introduction of the new employees, every 5-year anniversaries. We called those people out. But because we hadn't been together in over a year, we wanted to do an overall college update so that all the staff were kind of, if you haven't been around, here's what's going on in this team and this team. So all of Deb's deans and associate deans did their school updates and said what was going on in the School of Health and what was going on in the School of Business. And that was very helpful. They also, I think, challenged each other to make it fun because they had different games and different ways that they did it that was really fun. And then each ELT member shared what was new. So, you know, Mandy and Greg and Brad and Bobby and I all shared what was new with our areas. Shelly did her update last, and then we included her announcement that we were number 2 in the system for enrollment last year. Even in the midst of COVID, and we've had that big HLC project, and announced then that we had that successful HLC visit. That was the first time that our staff heard that. So that was very, very anticipated by everyone to get that news, and it was great news. So, and then she told them that to celebrate all that hard work we were having, that the rest of that agenda was false. We weren't going to do any strategic planning or any more updates. We were just going to have an afternoon together. So after that, we went to the main entrance where Shelly talked about the new landscaped area, and we had the unveiling. So Angela will have a picture. So this is all of us at the front entrance again, and then she'll zoom in, see if we can get a picture of that. Okay. There he is. It looks like it's made of mirrors.
Yes.
Oh.
It's beautiful, just simply beautiful.
How about that?
Well, look, see, there's me right behind Bobby. Strategically placed myself in that position. So this was a wow for our employees. They had no idea this was going to happen. Well, the ones who stayed up all night making it, finishing it did. But almost all employees had no idea what was going to happen. People had been buzzing about what we were doing with that triangle. People were asking what's going to go there and why is this building up? And we just said, we'll see. And so then we had the unveiling. That was a lot of fun for us. And it is truly a work of art. Again, you'll see it. Aaron's kind of a perfectionist, so he wants to have every scratch polished. And I think you'll be able to see it from the space station. It's going to just be so reflective. But he wants to finish that up before we put it up for real. Then we had lunch, and we intended on continuing outdoors for lunch. We started to go outdoors, but then if you remember last Wednesday, the weather turned, and we had tornado warnings to the north and south of us, and we weren't looking all that hot either. So we moved everything indoors from that point on. We had outdoor activities planned that we couldn't move to indoors, like volleyball and badminton, but pretty much everything else we moved indoors, and people didn't really seem to mind at all. We had lunch, and then we had, our dessert was our Marshfield 100-year ice cream. Remember that Marshfield 100-year ice cream? And our employees got the chance to suggest a name for that and then vote on the final name. And we voted during in-service and announced that the official name of that ice cream is Cougar Cranberry Swirl. You can get it now.
Swirl or swirl?
Swirl.
Swirl, not squirrel.
No, not squirrel. No squirrels were harmed in the making of that ice cream. No squirrels. So then after lunch, we just had our fun in the gym. So, you know, we couldn't do the volleyball or badminton, but we had Deb hosted a bags tournament, and we had bingo, and we had a musician, and we had a caricaturist. Oh, there's Ben. Look at his form. We had a magician. There's the caricaturist. I brought our team caricature. Angie, can you turn around and show that? So our team my team sat for a caricature, the HR payroll people. And so she did that for us. It was kind of fun.
I think the one they're doing now, I think, is at the 6 advisors.
This is the advisors. They had 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She had to do a thing of 10, so.
You just saw teams come together. And if I can just add one thing, Karen, we were not planning to do it outdoors. We were planning to go indoors. And then with COVID, we're like, okay, let's move everything outdoors. So then we moved everything outdoors, and then again had the plan B in case the rain. So just know that we continue to adjust.
Yeah, even during the day we did, but it worked out fine. So we had this fun for a couple of hours, like from 1 to 3, and we told everyone at 3 o'clock come back together, and we're going to wrap it up at 3 o'clock. And so shortly before 3, we told people, come get a box. We have these boxes. Angie rolled in her cart, and we had boxes for everybody, and told them, don't open them. We're going to open them together. So we have boxes for you, and you can relive our box opening. Don't open them, and Shelly will talk you through it.
It was, I just need to really say, and I think you're going to share some of the remarks we've got. It was a fabulous day. Probably one of the best days. It will definitely be in my chapter book. When we got done, we got a what's the word, Karen?
Standing ovation.
Standing ovation. And I don't think it was because of just everything that was in the box. I think they just saw all the effort. And I had said we really wanted them to know that our number one asset here at the college is them. And we really appreciated all the efforts. And I very much talked about, we weren't able to do the raise last year, but we were able to mid-year, based on our budgeting estimations, we were able to give you a small stipend. And so then, you know, go ahead, open up your boxes. So what we did is something very similar to maybe what you've seen in the past. On the inside cover, we have bought all Mid-State a jacket, and we would like to also get one for you, so we need your size. We gave them, wonderful, perfect.
Wow.
We gave them, this is products that are all made within our 8 counties. And you will see inside, there is a little grouping that has $1 bills. There's $20 there. They can use that either in our bookstore, our salon, or our new cafe once it is open. And then you will also see that there's Monopoly money there for $500. And I was able to let them know that really, oh, there you go. There's the walls that you're starting to see. That this is truly not Monopoly money, that they would receive an extra $500 stipend onto their check that they received last Friday. And again, we thank them for just everything that they've done. And with budgeting, and I need to say this because of Greg and the executive leadership team meeting on a monthly basis to be able to see where we were. We weren't able to do that raise because if you remember, we were almost 30% down, and we had to make a hard decision because we've never done that before as a college, but we did. And then we were able to do something for them in December, and now I'm very pleased that we were able to do something as just a thank you. And I think it really went a long way. I think you have some things you're going to read and some of the results, but you know, our big goal going into this year was re-engagement, and I'm feeling really good about where we're at today. It could change tomorrow, But I feel like at this point going into the year, we're doing well.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yes, so we're just a couple days out, that was Wednesday, so we've had Thursday, Friday, and Monday of work days to complete the feedback survey. And we have 98 responses as of right now to the feedback survey with 100% overall satisfaction rate. So they can say very satisfied, satisfied, I don't know what I feel, unsatisfied or very unsatisfied. So we have nobody in the unsatisfied or very unsatisfied. And we usually have a couple in there. So, so far so good. But the comments have been wonderful. One, it was an email sent to Shelly, not a comment through the survey the next day that said, next year I'm going to retire with 25 years in at the college. And I've had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, but yesterday was the biggest high I've ever had.
Wow.
So some of the comments that we've gotten from the survey, the games and activities in the afternoon were a great chance for us to bond and interact in a fun way. I hope this can happen again. Loved the celebratory feel and thankful for the thoughtful appreciation gifts. I'm a new employee and I left with a sense of community. I have never experienced this with any employer before. I felt like I mattered. What a fun day, packed with surprises and opportunities to connect with colleagues. I so appreciate every part of it, from the creative updates to the games and generous gifts. I was completely blown away. Everyone in my family wishes they worked at Midstate. Questions about any of them?
What you gonna do next year to outdo yourself?
So this is what, at the end, at the 3 o'clock meeting, Shelly kind of said, like, we can't do this all the time, but the feedback has come in. Maybe we could just like do a little something, or bingo. Bingo was like,
Oh my gosh.
went over like crazy. And some comments in the feedback have been, we should do bingo more often. So we're like, maybe the, second Wednesday of every month at the noon hour, we play bingo. I don't know.
Cool.
And I think the best part, everybody, they weren't expecting it. We very much went back and forth. Do we put employee appreciation maybe on the agenda? And we really decided no, because then somebody's going to be disappointed, right? Because they're going to think it's going to be something else. So we didn't. We put, strategic plan and some other things. And so when we were able to say, no, we're going to just do this, I think we rocked them, which I think is really, they deserve that.
Well done.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
So then we'll move on to our committee of the whole. Earlier this evening we met. We had an informational report given by Midstate staff, Bobby Damrow and Matt Schneider, along with industry expert Scott Grahalski, about a construction management tool called Construction Management Services. The team shared the advantages, disadvantages, and considerations in using the service. The team recommended moving forward with the next steps, which include evaluation of future projects that may be a good fit for the service in completing an RFP design, using other WTCS examples, and finally selecting a CMS for a multi-year service to help with the quality and fiscally sound builds. This service will be used on projects that are typically over $500,000 or are very complex in nature. Timeline is after the campaign reaches the public phase, but expected within the next 60 days. Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on to discussion and action items with a manufacturing project update with Dr. Bobby Damrow.
You guys had lots of teasers tonight about this, so I have to deliver now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, as we've communicated in the past and received your support, our plan was really intentionally designed to come back to you when we got to 5 million. That 5 million, as you recall, is the number that we have kind of set as our benchmark before we would go public. That 5 million also includes the 1.5 that the college has committed to put into this project. So we're now reaching, we're under 100,000, 92,004 to be exact. That's what we're looking for before we would consider going public. We do have a number of partners. In fact, we just heard from one today that we should have an answer tomorrow. We don't know the magnitude of that, but it could be one that could reach that 92.4 and then throw us over the top. We also have a few others that will be coming through in the next week or so. If you also recall, we had presented to you that we thought October would be the date that we would go public. We're very, very much wanting to go public, maybe before September even. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I wanted to share with you that from a grants perspective, we've submitted an idle sites grant with the city of Stevens Point, and for $250,000. The city actually puts that grant in. It's for some infrastructure, and we kind of provide all the details. Once that grant is approved and we have some advocacy that we believe that that's going to happen, we're poised to put in another grant with the city of Stevens Point for $250,000 more. It's called a CDI grant, the Community Development Initiative Grant. So that's all going to be kind of part of that infrastructure that the city of Stevens Point is helping us with. We're also partnering with one state council on a innovation grant that they're putting in, and that would be another $250,000. So those are some of the grants that we're working on. And very, very excited to share with you tonight that we just learned today, Shelly and I received an email from Centergy, which is our economic development region, that they have selected our project and will partner with us on putting in the project for the Workforce Innovation Grant, which is the DWD grant. And if you've read about it or heard about it, with Governor Evers' money, he is actually looking for up to 10 $10 million projects. They may be smaller and there could be more, but nothing smaller than 250, nothing larger than 10 million. With Centergy and their some of their goals, central to success, it's all workforce driven, and that's the idea behind this grant opportunity. Being able to put our application in and incorporate some of what they're looking for is really, really important, especially since it was on Governor Evers' top 50 list. We think we've got a lot of traction. We will be spending the next 3 weeks adding in more partners to that. Partners like the job centers and NCWWDB, partners like Schwimma, partners like WATIA, the Boys and Girls Club, lots of agencies that are really focusing on workforce innovation here in the next couple years. So we're going to kind of weave them all together and tell a wonderful story about Central Wisconsin and really put our best foot forward to receive part of that grant. We don't have all the budgets figured out, but it's going to be close to 10 million by the time we're done. We're looking at part of our construction. We're looking at part of our operations. We're looking at part of some equipment and a lot of other things that could kind of fit in there. Again, we want to partner with the school districts as well. So maybe some academy work. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we've also heard from folks down in Madison that this is a golden project. Why is it golden? Because we have nearly 5 million, or by the time we do this, we will have 5 million. We're over halfway there. So it's a good risk, right? We're also very optimistic to share with you that we're also working with our counties. The counties have that appropriation. So we've got some meetings coming up to see what portion of the ARPA funds could be allocated to this. We received information from the Fiscal Bureau that what is eligible and what is not for counties. Educational institutions, workforce development, all of these things were part of the eligibility. So they may have to check with their auditors and make sure that this is that project, but we're sticking on that as well, because the path to 9 million, it could have some twists and turns, but it has a number of ways that we're going to get there. Finally, I wanted to share with you that we've talked a little bit about Canadian National and where we stand with Canadian National. We also received word that we made it through kind of like one level of review. They had not one not one recommendation for us, which was a little bit scary, but I think it was good because it was very comprehensive and put together with 7 of their team members saying, you know, would Canadian National like to have a training center or use our site as a training center? They are taking that forward to their vice presidents of operations, which is in Homewood, Illinois. And we anticipate this will be a multi-month kind of discussion with them. But again, part of that path to 9 million. So I wanted to summarize the campaign status in a less monetary way. We have 41 cash or in-kind partners. That's a lot. When we start looking at the list from $500 to $500,000, we've got everything in between. And again, this is that focus campaign. We've not gone public yet. Those 41 cash or in-kind sponsors as of today come from 8 different counties. So that shows the bandwidth kind of this project. We also have 31 organizational partners that we have support letters from, and of those 15 are school districts. So thank you, Craig. Thank you, Mandy, for helping us tell the story to all of our districts, including our public and private schools. And everyone signed on to say, you know what, more dual credit, having a place to do this is a good thing. So we've got a lot of traction and a lot of support. We just have to kind of bring it home. So as we said, the path to 9 million is alive and well. When we do get this last hit to get us to 5 million, it's going to happen pretty quickly. Our vision is within a week or so, we would want to make some type of announcement. That announcement is going to be in the form of a rally where we would invite all of our sponsors to this point and our advocates to actually come in and share with us some words from Shelly saying, you know what, we're moving this forward. That also means there'll be some different campaigns and some different strategies that will happen. And we're also going to ask all of these advocates to help us make introductions, because part of the public phase is really using the people that really want this to happen, the people that we're serving, to help us make introductions to other people that we know would help us get this done. So what we wanted to do, or what I wanted to do, is really share that status with you all and find out and get your recommitment that, you know what, when this happens, you know, you're ready to go. You're ready for us to go public with this kind of on the fly. Obviously, you would all be aware of this happening through an email and an invitation, but wondering if there's any hesitancy or if we can just go.
No hesitancy here.
Go? Okay. Any comments, Shelly?
No, I just would just say thank you for your continued support. I mean, when you did the summary, Bobby, and we've worked this every week, when you hear, you know, over 40 partners, over 30 organizations, I mean, the college can put in 1.5, but when we hit 5, that means that we more than doubled what the college contribution can be. We've raised right now, and when you really think about this, we have raised 3.5 million. I think there was a lot of staff that you're never going to raise, you know, even 1.5. We've never asked before, everybody, from a college standpoint. We've raised almost 3.5 in these times. That's a huge testament to what people think of Mid-State. So that should hopefully make you all feel really proud, really excited. It is going to happen. I really think it is. We have multiple ways to get there. And part of with Synergy coming on board with us now, what's big about this is we can get some additional money for the equipment, right? 9 million was just to put it up. We had to figure out all the resources for the equipment. This is going to help leverage additional dollars to put the equipment in, help with some staffing, and it's exciting. It's really exciting. It's we're there. So thank you for your support. And I know even as I'm sitting here, my phone went off, Bobby. I think one of the calls that you were waiting for might be coming in. So it could really fall within the next week. It may not. There's a lot of, you know, COVID may slow us down a little bit again because we can't get in, but thank you. Just thanks for your support. It's exciting.
Ryan in the back of the room, Ryan,
yeah.
Just thank you. He's been kind of riding this wave with us, and some days you're like, we got this, and some days it's like, really, it's going to be another week, but another week happens. So just thank you. It's the right thing.
It is.
I think it says more than just what people think about MSTC. It's the project. You've got a good project plan. I mean,
you may remember
needed,
I kind of told you it was kind of not risk, but I was kind of putting my neck out going. but it's all coming to what we thought it would. Our data proved it, our initial assessment, it's all coming true. So, but we gotta bring it home now, right? They always say that last 100,000 is always hard to get. So it's exciting.
Great. Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion and a second for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Emma?